Okay, wonderful. Class is in session. So we're jumping straight into it. What are we doing today? Today we're we're gonna say today's the part two of the how do I say of the Can I Explain the Transformer from Scratch video. So I am just going to think, and we're gonna have a whole bunch of fun. Unfortunately, it's inevitable that the lights are gonna turn off, but I'm purposely bringing the energy of the lights on and light mode for the app because that's just a direction I would like to step in. You know what I mean? It's like, let's be awake. You know what I mean? Like you know, Will said he liked light mode for awakeness. I think that's good. We're supposed to have energy. I want to have energy. So it's empty. We're gonna do our best to have some fun. I haven't scoped it out yet. I scoped it out on my train ride, but I lost the message where I scoped it out. Um, but it's coming. It's coming back to me already. Okay, perfect. So, oops. There's a few things. There's a few potential things, but like thinking like this can take a really long time. Fortunately, I'm not coming into the office tomorrow, so I can stay up later. I can go to sleep at 12. You know what I mean? Which means, how do I say? Which means I can leave here at 10, which means I can record for an hour 20 minutes. So, we have time for the transformer we have time for the lengthy video. That's insane, but we're going to go for it. What's it called? When the lights turn off, I think I'm just gonna stand up and turn them back on. I think I like that. That's gonna help me stay awake, and it'll be a bit of a consistency thing with the video, just like a small break. Oh, the lights are turned off. So I like that. Good policy, and let's scope it out. We're doing the mirrored video, so this is properly my left hand, so I can say hello, and you can read it. The harder part for me is that left is right and up is down. Okay, up is up and down is down, but left is, you know what I mean? Left is right and right is left. Um, so that's fine. And then also, I didn't record a video yesterday. I broke my streak. That's kind of unfortunate, but it was whatever. I got rest. Um, what's it called? For whatever reason, I don't know why YouTube thumbnails are not high resolution. You know what I mean? I've done what I can to get a detailed camera and a detailed recording, and like the thumbnails are supposed to be just like screenshots from the recording, but the thumbnails are like low, poor quality. You know what I mean? Um, I'm thinking maybe I need to do like a full screen thing of me because the we're really banking off the last Transformer video. The thumbnail for that one was like okay, it was decent. You know what I mean? But like I had to be like full scale, and like even like right now where like it's like oh wait, that's kind of cool. Where it's like a cropped version of me in the video. That would be low quality. When YouTube does its like shrink thing, I'll get all compressed. Um, so let's write it out. I'll say it out loud first, because I am recording a video. So the end goal. Let's work backwards. End goal. I would like to finish internalizing Coconut. We're close. You know, super high level. It's GPT-2. It's a normal training from scratch. Um, we have, and now we're getting abstract because I don't understand. We have beginning of thought, end of thought tokens, and we have a curriculum. I'm so glad I remembered it. I think this is like I keep forgetting. I want to use the a word that starts with R, but I'm pretty sure it's curriculum. There's a curriculum where we use some number of latent reasoning tokens. We don't do the argmax. We pass to the front. We loop those, and then we do the final token, and that's our chain of thought. There's a weird thing in the paper where using this degraded performance for something. I'm very curious about that, but we're not going to do that in this video. We may not even get to the coconut part in this video because now let's say before that is the GPT-2 architecture. I'm just curious because I'm sure it's open. You know, it is. It has to be. Um, I'm curious if that's different from the architecture that I've been describing. You know what I mean? Is I'm sure there's similarities, but like GPT-2 is the one that the paper actually used. So, you know, it's one lower level of abstraction away from my do I understand LLMs? But we haven't finished that, so we're gonna go even. We're still abstract. Is and this one I'll probably be asking more questions because I finished I finished my thoughts last video, I think. Um, oh, that was another thing is I wanted to monitor my open questions. Let's see, open questions. No, it's not a good one. I think I finished. You know what I mean? Like I reached like a resolution point where it's like, okay, I've thought enough, I've learned some, and like we can call it here. So let's see, open queues. So it'll accumulate, some set of questions that I would like the answers for. Um, that eventually I'll like fold and ask David for, I guess. And maybe we see, yeah, maybe before we go for these questions, I try my best to answer them myself. If you can imagine, uh, man, I wish I had the word for this. I think of, especially when it comes to neural network stuff, because it fits so well. I think of information often as like vectors, and I'm a big fan of using orthogonality, orthogonal. What's it called? I'm really a fan of using the idea of vectors being orthogonal to each other to demonstrate like new information. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's an orthogonal thought. That's unique. Yeah, yeah. So like, and like that's also like, there's so many things. You know what I mean? Like cosine similarity goes off of this. Is if they're orthogonal, they're not similar. Um, and but it also means that it's new information, and one can't be produced by the other, and there are more things that can be produced by them being together. So if in my mind there are orthogonal pieces of information and there are emergent, I guess, pieces of information, they're not really emergent. They're like combinations, you know what I mean? It's like I'm just saying stuff. It's like, I have A, B, and C. They're all incomplete. By me trying to bring them together, they are going to have to become complete because they're different thoughts, but there's one reality, you know? And reality is going to like sort of like force them into being crystallized. So, what's our order of operation is finish transformer, and then like a subset of what's missing. I know I missed RoPE. Ooh, I would love to try to do RoPE from scratch or try to recall RoPE. RoPE is that I don't know. I talked about the FFN. I talked about dimensions. Am I interested in talking about sequence length and batch, or what did I miss? Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about heads because I did not talk about. Yeah, I think those are the things I'm gonna star. Is RoPE and multi-headed attention. I did not um, talk about those very well. Ooh, I don't think I'm gonna do this in the video. Is tensors. Yeah, and maybe I could. It's something. It's something. So tensors are important. Um, and you need to understand tensors and how you can like split things in dimensions, etc. Um, in order to do multi-headed attention. You know what I mean? You split D model by n heads to get the um, embedding vector thingamajiggy for each attention head. And then you have to bring it together and all that kind of stuff. So like, you know, transposing and splitting things, it's not just transpose. You can transpose to swap dimensions of the tensor, but what are you doing to like split? I don't even know what the transformation is called. So, but that is necessary for multi-headed attention. So I think we might end up, yeah, you know, that's A, B, and C. Is we're gonna end up having to cover tensors, I think. Oof. Okay, so tensors, multi-headed attention, RoPE, and this is why I don't think we will make it all the way to coconut. Is I think that could take a minute, and then I would say that's my minimum, but I would like to go to GPT-2, GPT-2, of which I know nothing about. So that's just like purely asks. Maybe I can look it up. You know what I mean? Like look up the arc. Like it's got to be open weights, but I don't even need the weights. It's an open architecture. That's what I'm curious about. What else are we missing? These are architectures. Okay. Running the code, actually training. We're missing that. Are we going to address that? No, I don't think we need to yet, because coconut is still like an architecture thing. It's not. It's a design choice. I'll call it a design choice. It's like the design of your training. So yeah, I think we're clear. Unfortunately, I've I've written these things on the whiteboard, but I need to erase them in order to use the whiteboard. So what do we want to start with? Do we want to, we can go back, we can recap where we left off. I think I can do that relatively quickly. We can recap where we left off, and then we can go to RoPE. I think that's fine. And that's just a second recall exercise. And maybe the third is, after I erase this, can I bring it back? Because, let's see. Tensors, yeah, because we're going to do RoPE and multi-headed attention. FFN I wrote, but I don't think, that's just a neural network, like whatever. And then GPT-2. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. I think that's one coherent thought of like what's next. So where do we leave off? We left off with a representation is that a sentence is a matrix. Tokens are embedded in D model dimensions. The context window is sequence length. Ooh, let's start with our first open question. Let's see. And, ooh, when did I talk about this? I don't know if I talked about it in that video. Is basically, I got the answer. Yeah, it wasn't in that video. I got the answer. I was wrong about like assuming that like, how do I say? Yeah, I really want to get into that. I was wrong about assuming that we're going to use a bunch of zeros for everything. For like the non-used tokens. It's not the same shape for your like your input and output. It is actually changing. So like, how do I say? An empty, not an empty. I don't even want to think about that edge case. I don't know. Oh man, I'm curious. um, so the edge case I'm curious about is like, what's like the smallest thing you can put into the transformer? Is it a single token or no token? I'm being an idiot. It's a single token. Duh. Wait, no, wait. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would like to imagine you think next token, what's the first token? You know what I mean? But next token, we talk about prediction, is token given. Why can't you just be given nothing though? Do you have to give a first token? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Edge case first token. Edge first. But that's whatever. That distracted me from something I really was more curious about. Um, oh, yes, the way they're expanding it is like, you know, if you have a single token, a single vector, um, again, don't even, oh my goodness, bro. This is so frustrating. This is, okay, this will end up being a good exercise, I guess. Is, how do I, let's see, expansion. All I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, this is going to communicate enough in my mind, is bigger boxes, um, is part of what I find interesting is I know that your weights for attention, Q, WQ, WK, WV, those are learned weights. We're going to perform gradient descent on those weights, okay? The dimension of those weights. Oh, genius, it's genius. Of course it works. It's D model by D model. It doesn't matter, it's unrelated to sequence link. So it will be okay. Obviously it works out, it has to, the model works. Um, but like, how do I say? Your scores matrix, okay? The scores matrix that is Q times V transpose is growing with your sequence length because it's sequence length by sequence length. You know what I mean? Sequence length is the length of your input, not the. Whoa, wait, whoa. It's the length of your input, which means you didn't determine that from the start. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait. So when you're training the model, your sequence length can get arbitrarily large. And I don't mean that in like the, oh, this is like a edge case code problem. I mean that in a, we can let it, we can get it as big as we want. You know what I mean? Like until like a computer says no, until like there's like something's too slow, you know? Is that true? Oh my goodness. This is a good thing to think about. All right. I think that's going to end up replacing GPT-2. So let's see. We have RoPE, and we have GPT-2. Oh no, we have multi-edit attention. Multi-edit attention is a subset of, how do I say, input growth. Forward pass. Yeah, I think forward pass because I'm not going to do a forward pass in a transformer with real numbers. That would be horrendous. Um, because your scores table is expanding and that all happens inside of the transformer. Your input and output are the same size. So it's almost like, you know, knuckles, same size, and like this is like sequence length, and it's like input, output, fine. And like as your sequence gets longer, but that's just something that's happening on the inside of this like machine. You know what I mean? And like if we gave it this is like completely unrelated, but if you gave it like a physical intuition, it's like if you can imagine like a balloon where like this is like a fake balloon, but like the front and back stay the same size, but you continue to fill it with air, and like air is going to be sequence. Like the middle continues to expand, and like there's going to be some practical limit where like the balloon pops. That would be your model like collapsing, something going very bad. Where even though you can just keep filling a balloon with air, something's going to break, such that um, you don't train a model on infinite sequence length. Something degrades significantly. But that is so cool. That is so cool. Whoa, that is sick. That is nice. Okay. I need to stop grunting to myself. I should like communicate these things. everything like significant is happening to the tokens. It's happening to the tokens. Everything is happening to the tokens. Okay? Even, how do I say? Even attention is happening to the tokens. It's how the tokens are relating, but that content is being imbued into the token. And because all we care about is tokens, everything else is just like stuff that happens in between. That's so cool, bro. That's so cool. And like, attention is only like huge because we need to tell, because we just need to add the attention information to every single token. It's like how do I say? We need the information. Well, let's pause on that. We want, we're claiming that we want each token to have information about every other token. And to inject that information into every single token, we need to do a matrix operation with respect to every single token. And that is your scores table, and that is attention, and that is why it's so scary and bad. But like in theory, and this is why this is part of like an interesting thing, in theory, I see no reason, I don't see no reason. I'm sure there's like, I can very much so see a practical reason why not. But like in theory, you could totally just train a 10 million context transformer model, and then you just have a really big attention matrix. You know what I mean? It's just really big. That would be it, you know? Um, and it would, your next token prediction would be reasoned across all, would be reasoned across attending to all of that information. Also interesting. Also interesting. It's like, you would almost, how I would say, as you say, we're going to inject the information of attending to every other token into each token. How much information can a token capture? That is bounded by the dimensions of the token. I don't think people really discuss this or worry about this of like, we should make D model bigger because our tokens don't have rich enough information. But like, say D model was too small. As a food for thought, I would imagine your D model is too small, that it would struggle with a very long sequence length because it can't, especially with like numerical precision thing or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you can't just, there's like a fixed number. There's a literal deterministic set of numbers that can be denoted by a vector in a computer. And what's it called? You know what I mean? Is you want information about every other token when the sequence gets too big, which means the attentions, the scores tables get so big that you can't inject, you can no longer inject that information in, or you lose something else. You know what I mean? Like so the performance like drops. Okay, tangent was way too long. I think it's relatively clear. I think I'm seeing what's happening, but we've got to see it through. I'm going to turn on the light, and I'm going to update Vault Chat at the same time. And yeah, so we have RoPE. This is going to be fun. I'm having fun. This is amazing. Let's see. We're going to do RoPE, and we're going to do the input growth, and then, oh, and we have to do tensors in order to do multi-edit attention. We're not going to get to GPT-2. Okay. Okay. Oh, is Vault Chat still running? Yeah, I don't know why I expected it to be so fast. Okay. So, where do I want to start with this? Recap. Let's start with the recap, and I think I'll naturally get stuck at RoPE because I skipped it, and then and then that's when I'll start talking about RoPE. So, oh, I'd already said I'm going to do the recap. Whatever. Recap is a sentence is a matrix. We have vectors. We have sequence lengths. What's it called? What's the very first thing that's going to happen? RoPE. Fuck. Do you just go for it? Let's see. Let's see. It's weird. Man. I'm going to struggle with this one. Rotationary position embeddings. Rotationary position embeddings. You have, and I'm just imagining the table that I saw in class. Let's see. 3. And so we're starting with the fact these are the indices of the tokens in our sequence. Okay. RoPE is rotation. We're going to multiply it by a rotation matrix. I'm remembering it. This is what I don't like. I don't like RoPE. RoPE is so weird. RoPE is so weird, dude. It's so weird. D model must be an even number because the way that we're going to perform the rotation is we're going to rotate pairs. Oh, I don't like RoPE. We're going to rotate pairs inside of our, how do I say, pairs of vectors in our D model, in our token. Pairs of dimensions in our token are going to be rotated by a different theta. Yeah. They're each going to be rotated, and then there's sort of like 2 dimensions of rotation. There's rotation within the vector, and then there's rotation across the sequence. And it's like the rotation across the sequence that's significant. And then also, I think I would like to formalize that pair by pair rotation because I think it's gross. And I think I can come to terms with it if it turns out that it's equivalent to a, how do I say, to a sort of identity matrix looking thing, like a very sparse diagonal matrix of rotations that is just being multiplied by the actual embedding vector. That is a lot easier for me to resonate with than saying that we're going to do chunks. Because doing chunks is very machine code. It's not a math operation as much. Multiplying matrices is like sort of like going back to like how I, my model of things, of like information is like you multiply the matrices is like that could be undone in a way. Even though I'm not really right about that because it's probably it's not square. What would be square? Okay, wait, a rotations matrix is probably square. Maybe it can be undone. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it can be undone. So, and I think I'll be looking this up very soon. But let me try my best without looking it up. I'm going to, we're going to write two tokens in their vector representations, and we're going to rotate them. So, let's see, edge. Yeah, I'm so excited about these things. I think I'll be able to remember them, even though there's no guarantee. So, let's draw this well. Is we have at 0 and we have at 1. And let's see. Being left-handed with like markers is just like, it's not the method, man. We have 2 vectors, 2 tokens. Let's give them names. Let's say the cat. Yeah, the cat. Okay. So we're not even close to done. but we're going to say like the cat. That's how it would look like this, you know what I mean? We would turn it into a sentence. Let's see, the cat. Let's do a huge visual. Let's just like go all the way. The cat. And what are their numbers? We're going to say D model is 5. Nope, D model equals 6. It has to, because it has to be even. So maybe we want to do 4 then. No, it needs, I need it to be wide. Let's see. 2, nope, 8, 8, 8 again. 4, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Okay. I wish I used, how do I say, decimals, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I'm going to replace 9 with 5. Okay, so these are the vector token representations for our 2 tokens. And to perform RoPE, it's a fully deterministic transformation. The analogy that I gave myself in class is like this barrel. I don't like it. But that's within the token. That's why it's so unintuitive. Is we're going to have to look up the formulation. A question I have, if, and it's probably uniqueness. How do I say it? Let me underline the pairs. Say you're unfamiliar with RoPE. Is let's say e.g. Ooh. If you haven't seen RoPE before, let me introduce you. 8, 2. Okay. You're not doing a good job, Carl. Let's see. 8, 2. Okay. The point. The vector. Okay. So let's actually erase all of these. Okay. Let's take 8, 2, for example. That's a pair of dimensions inside of the embedded vector for the word the. We're going to take that pair. This is normal coordinate, 2D coordinate space. We are going to multiply this by sine, cosine type of vibe in order to rotate it by theta, some degree theta. I would do this. Okay, and then that would be perfectly slotted back into here, like exactly that. And we're going to do that across every pair. And what's going to change is it's, how do I say? So what's really annoying is it's something like theta. It's like, it's so disgusting. It's like theta equals one. It's got to be divided by 10,000. Divided by 10,000. Of course. 2i. It's something like that. It's not that. It's like, you know, which pair? It's theta is taking 2 things into account. It's taking both its sequence index and the position index of its pairs inside of the feature. So every pair is getting a unique theta, and everything sequence word is getting unique theta, and importantly, words that are further away in sequence are getting like a slower rotation. Um, so actually, I guess I do understand rope, but it's that theta is what I'm missing out on. And then I think turning it into a matrix is something I would greatly prefer to see. So I think it is David's time to shine. So let's see. If anyone has a better name for David than David, I'm all ears. But I gave like the Telegram version of Vault Chat when that was still a thing, and I had like a frog icon for the assistant. That was David. I think that the voice mode in 11 Labs, I think his name is David. Or maybe it's Brian. Should we call him Brian? Oh, dude. The desktop version of this app, so bad. His name is Brian. So maybe we should call him Brian. Can we switch up on David? I don't know. Okay, let's see. Asks. So, I should call it rope, but it's too late. The app is slow, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Rope. Whisper Flow's kind of peak. This is beautiful. Okay. I have a few questions about rope that I would like answered. Um, I would like the definition of theta to be defined. Um, and I would like, um, I would like to do a sort of like clean story. I would like to use two examples. I would like you to show me a sample and vector, sample embedding vectors for two tokens, the and cat, and their sequence indices are 0 and 1. And I want you to show me the pairs inside of the embeddings. We can just choose a simple D model of something like 12, and you can show the pairs, or maybe a D model of 6. Maybe that 12 is too big. You can, choose a few example pairs and show how they get rotated and how theta is using both the index and the pair position within the embedding vector for the token. And then I would like the motivation for rotating both the for having a different rotation for internally to the token, both internally in the token as well as for across the sequence. Across the sequence makes trivial sense to me, but a different rotation within the vector does not make sense to me. Also be clear on, like, with the theta of that, we divide it by such a large number so that we never do a full unit circle rotation, because then that would remove the uniqueness information in the embedding. That's another oops, that's another thing. Is to perform rope. I wonder if there's a better position embedding solution. To perform rope, there's just like a hard coded divided by like 10,000, um, divided by 10,000 for however whatever degree like you rotate um the embedding dimension or whatever. And if that's depending on your sequence length, totally super easy to imagine that there's a precision issue. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, we're too close to 0. Is like the effective difference in distance between these two tokens is too small for the computer to process. Like, we need, precision does become necessary. And dare I say, that's why we still use full precision for attention, but we don't for other stuff. Am I locked in? I'm having a lot of fun. This is fantastic. This is what learning is supposed to be. Welcome to class. Um, so let's see. Again, vol chat's peak. So please answer below. There's so many ways I could do that. You know, I could have, what's it called? Actually, you see, interestingly, I think I made a mistake because answering below is going to clear. I just did select all, so it's actually just going to delete everything, I think. I should have done Control K below it, and then it should still have the context and have done the answer that I'm expecting. That's a lot. Holy cow. Wait, is it still generating? Is that why I can't accept it? Wow. Yeah, see, I got rid of it all. Let's see. I don't know if I'm too worried about that, though. Okay. The setup. Rotary position embedding. Okay. Injects position information not by adding a position vector, but by rotating the embeddings. The key move, split each embedding into 2D pairs and rotate each pair by an angle that depends on two things: the token's position in the sequence and which pair. Dude, guys. And like, I don't want to like self-glaze like too much because that's the description that I gave. So it could totally just be bias. You know what I mean? It's like I already told it how I want it to represent it, and then it said it back to me. So sure, you know what I mean? But like if what I said is correct, like I don't know, maybe you just didn't lie. You know what I mean? I'll have to check. But like I really like that form of it. You know what I mean? Like that really makes sense to me. I like, you know, the two things in bold is like the position sequence and which pair you're looking at inside of the vector. All right, so let's do a contra. This is fantastic. Okay, let's make it concrete with d model equals 6. That gives us 3 pairs per token. Defining theta. Each pair P has its own base frequency. Yes. Yes is a large constant, commonly 10,000, and d equals d model with d equals 6. I don't know why you would say that. It's kind of like redundant. Yes, for each index. So let's see. So P, each pair. Ah, yes. See, so you have a pair index and a position index. Each pair. Ooh, very interesting. Wait, base D. No, that doesn't work. Oh, M. Oh, it's that simple. Very interesting. Yeah, so M is just going to be, is your position. You're just going to multiply by theta. So the hardest part is within the token. So you take the pair and you do base by negative 2p divided by d. Let's see if the math for that makes sense. Like, why negative 2 divided by p? Okay, so they're pairs, or not? No, it's negative 2 times p. They're pairs. Why are we doing negative? Bear with me now. What does a negative exponent do? It flips it. It doesn't square root it. That's what fractions are for. So, what's it called? Oh, yeah, it's because we're dividing by 10,000, right? I'm a chud, dude. What is going on? Why am I not locked in on this? 1 over 10,000, that's 10 to the negative 1. Just the fact that it's negative is what's giving us 10,000 on the denominator. I think that's correct. I'm not going to question that. I'm showing that I'm stupid. Multiplying by 2, p divided by d. Why? 2p divided by d. Am I not locked in? I'm really not locked in. Of course. Wait. 2p. So for 0, is it if you did 0, 1, 2, 3? No, if you did 1, 2, 3 instead of 0, 1, 2, you would do 30, yeah, you do 33, 66, and then 100%. So they're evenly split. How do I say? Oh, wait. No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, so it's gonna have to give me the explanation as to why we're doing the internal rotation. Because I feel like you could do like the trick, you know what I mean? Is like we're doing this emphasis inside of the embedding, okay? And we're doing something very simple for the across the sequence. Other way around, you know what I mean? Like do something more complicated for the sequence. So I was wrong, maybe, because that 10,000 does not depend on the sequence length. So maybe that's, maybe that's good that they don't have that precision issue. But I would prefer to do it. I would almost take that trade off, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe you'd get better position capturing. Or maybe not. Maybe this is why it's smarter. Is now you have D model divided by 2 dimensions to uniquely characterize each vector. Is this almost like it's almost like a richer representation of the position. So instead of just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the rotation can always be undone. No, but that would just be bloated. Just because you can represent like the same piece of information with more numbers doesn't necessarily make it richer. So I don't know. I feel like it could be redundant. That's why I'm confused. So part of what's weird for me is, and this is where my barrel analogy came in, is if you can imagine this is a token, okay, and we're gonna slice it. We're gonna stick with D model of 6, okay, and we're gonna split it all the way through here and all the way through here. So what we have is like 3 discs. We have 3 hockey pucks now, okay, and this is index. Let's do it well, okay. This is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2, okay, and index 0 we're going to rotate 10 degrees. Index 1 we're going to rotate 20 degrees, and index 2 we're going to rotate 30 degrees, okay. Why are we rotating index 2 more than index 1? I don't know why. There is no significance in information to me in that sense whatsoever. Why would we rotate? Say we have 2 tokens, we have 2 things. Why are we rotating this one different from this one? Because they're in a different position, and we want to capture that. It makes complete sense. Okay, so what if we did do that? What if we only did that? Yeah, we would just rotate every pair inside of the vector by the same dimension, or by the same degree. You know what I mean? So this one gets rotated by 1 degree, this one gets rotated by 2 degrees, this one gets rotated by 3 degrees for every single pair. And I also would like the answer for what that rotating by pairs. You better have a better answer or a better explanation. How do I say? To represent as a matrix. So let's see. Broken into pairs. The cat. Perfect. Pair 1, pair 2. Rotating each 2D pair is, yeah. Turn it to a circle. This is just what rotations look like. The position m equals 0, every angle m times theta p for 0. Oh, yeah, for the first one. Yeah, sure, whatever. Cat is 1, and then it's, let's see, now the angle, and p, but p, oh, for the first one, and then for the second one, and then for the third one. Yeah. And then you have the new one, and then cat has been rotated perfectly. Okay, Why rotate? This is what we really care about. Why are we rotating within the vector? The across sequence part is intuitive. Later tokens get rotated more, so the position is encoded. The subtle part is why each pair rotates at a different rate. Think of it as a multi-resolution clock. If every pair rotated at the same rate, the model could only tell positions apart until that single frequency warped around. After that, position 0 and position 1 full turnaround look identical. Yeah, that's why we divided by 10,000. I don't understand. That doesn't mean we have to do it within it. Instead, RoPE gives you many rulers at once. Fast pairs resolve nearby fast pairs. They have a large P. It's entirely fast pairs. A large That's interesting. Huh. It's almost like by doing RoPE, you want to represent the token in these pairs. The math isn't like, I'm not liking that. Because now there's two things going on in terms of like the use of the embeddings for a token. There's both like attention and RoPE. And like, to me, RoPE is saying that, you know, let's represent fast pairs and slow pairs as like different rates, as like, how do I say? They're different channels because the weights are going to learn how to choose weights are going to choose what to put into what channel, but RoPE gives us the unique channels. So by performing RoPE, we have these sets of pairs and but these are pairs of embedding dimensions at which to look at a token. And so those 10 channels, those are like lenses, which is why I'm like not liking how it's mixing up with attention. Is like, if you look at this, whatever you're going to put into this channel is going to be information such that across the sequence, you're fine with this blending around. Ah, man, I wish something was catching my audio so I could get the answer for that right now. Are the lights turning off again already? Yeah, I wish I had the answer for that sooner. I believe I have that correct in slow pairs. Together, they're like the second, minute, and hour hands of clock. Combining hands of different speeds means you can name any moment uniquely across a huge range. Model tending to relative. That's exactly it. A model tending to relative position gets both find and coarse information from the same vector. Meaning, again, those 10 channels is like, what information are we going to consider significant? The position that we allow to rotate at like a bit of a higher frequency, like the fast pairs, is, how do I say? What word did it use? Coarse. That's coarse information. And the fine information is the stuff that is going to rotate very slowly. There's going to be something very unique about it. No, but why don't you just rotate everything slowly? Let's see. The way I'm seeing things is that the pairs act as different channels for which the model will choose to focus on information inside of the embeddings. Allow me to elaborate. Is the fast pairs are going to capture coarse information and the slow pairs are going to capture fine information. It allows the model, as it over time is each pair is a is like a channel, a flow for which the model can embed different depths of information. As you said, fine versus coarse. Fine information you're going to put into the channels that have slow pairs. The part that confuses me is why not just make everything slow and everything a fine rotation? And from there, again, the model still has the opportunity from attention to denote the significance of different dimensions or different spaces of the embedding for vectors, for tokens. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the light. I'm very confused by that. So I'm saying I don't like that it's inside. Um, that'll be me. Let's see. Why they divide such a large base? Yes, one line summary. Okay, let's finish reading that. I think I know. Yeah, is how to say. Divided by large base makes tiny for most pairs. Yeah. So stays well. Yeah. The rotation is a gentle but gradual nudge. Yeah. Never too much. That it laps the circle. Okay. And erases the unique semantic content embedding shared with it. Ooh, that as well is you want a gentle rotation such that the actual cardinality isn't the word, just a literal like number. Like I would like to rotate it, but I would only like to rotate from 4 to 3.8, not from 4 to 1, you know? Um, you know, yeah, I don't want the magnitude of the rotation to exceed the magnitude for which I capture the semantic meaning. I like that. One line summary rope rotates each 2D pair, blah, 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 sequence index, yeah, yeah. Questions for you to later, no AI in the room. I think I have a North Star. It's like one of my big things, yeah, where it's supposed to AI drives breadth, user owned open questions. So like, everything that gets generated is like, I don't know, looking out for my best interest of what I said like 2 months ago of what I wanted from the summer is like whatever it's generating is like, oh, make sure you're a good student. Okay, let me turn on the light. Okay, so we're super close. We're super close with RoPE. Is I want the matrix and I want the answer to that coarse versus fine question. So let's see. No, I'm on YouTube, which means we talk. Hey, David.
Hey, I am right here and ready to go. What is on your mind today?
Hold on. I just want to do a quick check. Um, I asked you about, or I left a question in this note of like, the way I'm seeing things. Can you read that and help me understand if I'm seeing things correctly? Or, can you help me out?
You are seeing the core intuition beautifully, but there is one crucial swap we need to make to get the physics of rope exactly right. You mentioned that fast pairs capture coarse information and slow pairs capture fine information. It is actually the exact opposite. Fast pairs which have a large theta and rotate rapidly are the ones that capture fine-grained up-close position because even a tiny step from position 1 to position 2 causes a noticeable, distinct rotation. Slow pairs which have a tiny theta and rotate very gradually barely budge between adjacent tokens, meaning they cannot tell position 1 from position 2,
Well,
but they stay.
hold on. I'm confused because you're talking about positions, but there's no such thing as a position within a token, unless there is, and I'm missing something. Is what's it called? That's why I spoke about channels. Is the embedding of a token is the information that exists of that token, and in relation to that token, once we perform attention. But what's it called? When we use the position index within the embedding for a token, maybe that's why you're saying position. It's not the position in the sequence, it's the position within the token. Um, yeah, maybe that's what I'm mixing up, and I need your help to clarify.
Ah, I see exactly where the wires are crossing. When I say position, I do mean the token's position in the sequence, like token number 5 versus token number 100. RoPE works by taking the token's embedding vector, which has many dimensions, and grouping those dimensions into pairs. Each pair of dimensions is rotated by an angle that is calculated by multiplying the token's sequence position by that pair's specific frequency. So the rotation is applied to the dimensions inside the embedding, but the amount of rotation is driven entirely by where that token sits in the overall sequence. Does that distinction between the sequence position and the embedding dimensions make sense?
Yes, but I'm still confused by why we're forcing it to happen within the embedding for the token. Why can't we just do um, rotations across the sequence positions?
We actually are doing the rotations across the sequence positions, but we have to apply them to the embedding vectors because those vectors are what the attention mechanism
Yes,
uses.
yes, I understand we're doing them to the embedding vectors, but why are we choosing a different theta for each pair within the embedding vectors instead of the same rotation for each token, for each embedding vector
If
pair?
we use the exact same theta, if we use the exact same theta, the same frequency, for every single pair in the vector, then the entire vector would rotate at one single speed. If we did that, we would lose the clock hand effect. We would only have a second hand, meaning that as soon as the sequence got long enough for that single frequency to make one full turn around the circle, position 0 and position 100 would look identical to the model. By using
But
different.
okay, so let's pause. Is it a deliberate trade-off because we have the uniqueness is by doing the pairs, the rotation, if we turned the position for the position for the token into a vector, it would be far more unique across greater sequences because we did the rotation at um, across multiple pairs, increasing the cardinality of, or I keep saying cardinality, increasing just the number of um, you you know how may I say, the number of unique position vectors that we can produce. Whereas if we only used one dimension and that dimension just being the sequence position, we would run into a numerical precision issue very fast. But in theory, could we do the same thing if we just did a small enough rotation across the sequence length? Is the design choice to do it also inside of the embeddings so that the rotary information is characterized by d model divided by two dimensions instead of a single dimension, allowing for more unique rotations.
You have hit on a brilliant mathematical truth. Yes, in theory, if you had infinite numerical precision, You could use a single, incredibly tiny rotation to represent a massive sequence. But in the real world of floating point numbers, a rotation that tiny would get lost in numerical noise, and the model would not be able to tell adjacent positions apart. By spreading the rotation across many dimensions with different frequencies, we solve that precision problem. We get a highly unique, high-dimensional signature for each position that is robust to noise, while also giving the attention mechanism different channels to focus on.
Okay,
Some for close.
okay. I think I really like that. I would like for you to finish that thought at the bottom of this note. And then I would also like for you to show me, for the example that we have, what the rotation vectors look like. Is the rotation for the embedding vectors, even though we're doing it pair by pair, is it something that can be captured by a matrix, by multiplying the vector by a matrix instead of by doing this like deterministic logic? What I've been imagining is like a mostly sparse sort of diagonal matrix is actually the operation, or is what it is what it is equivalent to mathematically, despite the fact that we're describing it as this sort of selection.
You're exactly right. It is mathematically equivalent to multiplying the embedding vector by a block diagonal matrix. Each block along the diagonal is a simple 2 by 2 rotation matrix for one pair. Because it is block diagonal, it is highly sparse, with non-zero values only on the diagonal and the immediate off diagonals. I have updated the bottom of your note to capture this exact resolution and the block diagonal matrix structure.
I don't see it.
Let me scroll you down to the bottom of the file so you can see the new section I just added. I am moving the viewport to the end of the document now. There it is. You can see the correction we made about the fast and slow pairs, along with the explanation of how this maps to a block diagonal matrix.
No, I still don't see it. Oh
My
wait.
apologies. The viewport
Oh wait, I see it. I see it. I'm sorry. Can you, but I wanted you to also add like number details. You know what I mean? I told you to use my like the example. So like what is this block matrix that you're talking about? You said it's a matrix of matrices. That's not exactly what I was imagining. So, can you please, you know, can you show like the mathematical equivalent for the actual example with the int cat that we were using? And then like state the practical trade-off is like the practical value of rotating within the positions, and then is like that uniqueness and the precision difference. But you also were beginning to talk about how it also does something extra for attention. I would like for you to show me that, and then like if it's possible, can you show me the position token for a particular token? You know what I mean? Like, is that something that you can take separately out of the token? Please show examples.
I have written out the exact 6 by 6 block diagonal matrix for cat at position 1, plugging in the real cosine and sine numbers so you can see exactly how it multiplies. I also added two crucial sections explaining why you cannot separate the position from the token in RoPE, because it is an operator rather than an additive vector, and how this math beautifully collapses in the attention dot product so that the model only sees the relative distance between tokens. Let me scroll you down to see this new math. There is the full matrix in the explanation of how the query key.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. No, this is what's it called? I've never referred to that as a block diagonal, but this is exactly what I was expecting. So beautiful. Um, and yeah, you multiply it by this matrix, and then um, you'll get your new vector. Fantastic. Um, and that's like, yeah, all that is, that's a deterministic matrix. Is that's nothing to worry about. And then like yes, the magical beautiful math is um yes, is this dot product property is oh it's not QV, I messed that up. See, it lied to me. See, this is Q transpose K. Didn't we do QK transpose for sequence length by sequence length? Sequence length by D model, which would make this D model by sequence length, which would make that D model by D model, but it must be sequence length by sequence length. So that means that Q must be D model by sequence length in order to be transposed to sequence length by D model. Right, guys? Yeah, you do the transpose, and what you see is, yeah, do I want to take the time for this? This is like one of the big clicks. This is like the, like, holy cow, RoPE is like the beautiful solution for positions, is this whole relative dot product thing. Oh, it's still this R. That's interesting. R. You wouldn't do that then, right? Okay, my brain is starting to get fried. This is getting hard enough to move to tomorrow because, what's it called? Why do you have a query matrix, a whole matrix for a position? That does not make any sense. That can't be right. So, um, I would almost argue that this is wrong. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't know. Maybe this should just be like QK and then like RM. Yeah. So that's not making sense to me, and I don't have the time to go into the detail for it. So let's say we have RoPE. We have RoPE for we got into RoPE. Okay. I think we're good on that. So what was next? I'm getting sleepy, but I shouldn't look at a clock. Okay. That was RoPE. That was good. So we understand RoPE. It is a matrix like I was sort of hoping for. So it is math. It's just like a, you know, it could literally be calculated prior. And then, yeah, I didn't get the answer for for whether or not you could show like the position vector for a thingy. Oh wait, no, this is the rotated vector. I want the, you know what I mean? It's because I would like to see a, how do I say, a D model divided by 2 dimensional vector that is the position in vector form, in the rotation form, you know? Maybe the answer, oh, that is it. Okay, I'm very happy with that. It's just the thetas. That's how I would characterize it. Is, what's it called? Is it's the, oh, that's awesome. So, what's it called? Say 0 and 1 is theta. I wrote Q. It's theta, theta. How would I do this? Theta. I wrote Q again. Theta, theta, theta. And then let's see. I don't know what to do with subscript or superscript. Let's see. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. No, 3. And then 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Is like, what's it called? This vector is what's going to characterize like these different thetas that we got based off of its, how do I say it? Is this, these are like m times theta p. Yeah. So like theta p is different across the positions, and then theta m is different across these. So every single token now has this representation, which is across 3 dimensions instead of just 1, which it would have been if we did the super small theta. Fantastic. So this is a better way to represent it. And like the thing that I'm missing is apparently is like, yeah, it's like there's something nice. There's something nice with attention. Both the relative position part and then like apparently there is there something to do with the channels. Um, we're pushing past, you know, how much of a mental sprint can I do in one sitting of like internalizing something? So, oh my goodness, did I say yeah? GPT-2 out of the picture. Um, oh my goodness, multi-headed attention, tensors. Is that it? And then no, and then the expansion. Whew. I think this has to be a 3-part series, bro. Okay, we got RoPE, our magical deterministic friend. Um, what else? I should make myself bigger to code. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at myself in the corner. Um, we got RoPE. We're good on RoPE. I don't know if GPT-2 is using RoPE. I think RoPE is a standard. Maybe it's not. Um, imagine RoPE is old now, dude. What would you do? RoPE is perfect. That's like saying the Transformer is old. Is it? Um, what's it called? I don't think I think I have the answer for how it gets bigger. I don't have the solution for the edge cases. You know what I mean? Is like you're going to do your sequence by D model, and it's your internal is going to expand, and that was it. Yeah. Oh no, I answered that. Okay, I'm happy with that. So the last thing is tensors. In order to do multi-headed attention, and do I care? At what point do we do the split? We're just going to split it, and then we're going to do the same attention mechanism, but on a subset of the dimensions, and then we're going to concatenate it once again, and then we're going to do one last transformation with another weight matrix, just because it's just optional, and then it's sort of like we'll blend it all together, and then that'll be the output. Um, yeah, no, I don't think I'm too interested in that. So tensors and like tensors is whatever. So, and I should probably go home. Okay. So today's RoPE. Today's RoPE. So we're we greatly underperformed, but I still had a good time. So that was a good video. Um, and I'm excited. I'm thrilled to see you guys in the next one.